you. Yes, so I'm going to talk to you about people, pets and positive psychology. And I want to start off by just talking about the scope of the issue, which sounds a little bit trivial compared to some of the things we've been talking to about today, but is actually very important and ties some of them together in fairly unique and unusual ways. So we have 33 million pets in Australia. Compare that to our population of humans, which is 22 million, and that actually stacks up pretty impressively, don't you think? So we have 8 million homes, and in those 8 million homes we have 33 million animals. Right. Now, a lot of people have more than one or two or three, so it turns out that about 63% of our households have at least one pet in them. Mostly they're dogs and cats, so we have, well, maybe not mostly because some people have like 100 fish or 100 birds, but we have about 3.5 million dogs and about 2.5 million cats. They're the species that we like to own as pets. And it turns out that 83% of Australians will have lived with a pet at some point in their life, and of those who don't, 53% of them wish that they did. Right? So we're a nation of pet owners. Australia has one of the highest rates of pet ownership in the world. We're very big on our pets. As a psychologist, somebody who worries about stuff like that, that brings me to the issue of what is that about, right? Why do we own so many pets? How interesting is that? Because it's difficult to own pets now, because more of us are living in cities. We are worried about our carbon footprints and the fact that our cat is eating fish that are fished unsustainably from things. Our big dogs have a higher greenhouse gas emission total than our SUV. So there are real issues about pet ownership. It's hard to go on holidays if you've got a pet. You've got to pay for vet bills. It's expensive. There's a million reasons why we wouldn't own pets, and yet we own 33 million of them. What's that about? So there's kind of three theories that compete with each other to explain this. And the first one is that it's kind of an accident, an evolutionary accident, that humans have evolved to find small helpless creatures irresistible. Because if we didn't, there is no way we would ever look after our children. Right? So our kids are born in this undeveloped state where they're completely helpless, and if we don't fall madly in love with them the second we see them, right, and we're biochemically equipped to do that, if we didn't, we wouldn't look after them for 10 or 20 or sometimes 30 years. Right? So this theory, this social parasite theory, says that that's why we love our pets. They get into our brains and we can't resist them. And if you see little kittens like this one, it kind of works. You know, you can't resist cute little kittens and you can't resist cute little puppies, and you want to take them home, and that's why we have impulse buying of pets all the time from people who then aren't prepared for the commitment level to look after them. The second theory is a little bit similar to that one, but maybe more negative about humans. So the second theory is that people who own pets are deficient in some way. We own pets because we can't relate to people, or we're lonely, or we're miserable, and our lives are terrible because we work hard and our spouse doesn't love us anymore, so we get a dog or a cat. Right? So it's a social deficit model. And again, that kind of makes a bit of sense because there are lots of lonely, unhappy people in the world who have a pet and have a very close relationship with it. That's true. But do we really want to say that 63% of Australians are socially defective? Right? I worry about that theory. It doesn't make me feel good because, of course, I'm a pet owner. Right? So the third theory, and the one that I like best, is that pets add something positive to our lives. No matter what else is going on, no matter how successful we are, no matter how rich we are, no matter how terrific our relationship with our spouse is, having a pet adds something to that, something positive. Right? And that explains why really successful people own pets. And the first thing you do when you get elected president is rush out and buy yourself a dog. Right? Because it adds something to your life, and it does. So I've just had a student, Jordan Shan, who's just finished her PhD, asking very successful people why they dote on their dogs, and these are people with six-figure salaries and successful marriages and great kids, and they all say that they love their dogs or their cats, she was looking at dogs, because those dogs add something to their life, that they're a positive influence of their life. Okay? So I went looking for try to get explanations of that. And in my field of psychology, we're not actually very good at looking at positive things. We're really good at looking at negative things. And I think that's a cultural thing of lots of professions. We've spent 200 years looking at problems. Right? And what do we do about problems? So psychologists have been really good at that. We now can fix a whole lot of mental health issues that we couldn't fix before. So we've spent 200 years trying to fix broken people, and we're pretty good at that, right? What we need to do now, I think, is go up the other end of the spectrum to make life better for those of us who aren't mentally ill. and aren't socially defective, but don't have perfect, wonderful lives, bounce out of bed every morning looking forward to the day. So psychologists have moved from the deficit model of human mental health to a more positive one. So how do we get normal people to flourish? And we call this positive psychology. So here's a perfectly normal person. She's maybe a little old, right, given our cultural tendency to idolise youth. How does that dog add something to her life, make something better than it was before? The field of positive psychology, which is growing really rapidly, and if you want to read about that, there's a guy called Martin Seligman who's just published a book called Flourishing, which is terrific, and explains this sort of theoretical background. But what we know about people is there are 5 things that make life better for people. And these are the 5 things up behind me on the slide. So positive emotion makes life better for people. If you have happy thoughts, you are happier. That kind of is self-explanatory, right? But there's lots of positive emotions other than just joy and happiness. It's things like gratitude, things like feeling satisfied with who you are. If you smile, you just have a better outlook on life. You're a better, happier person. The second thing is engagement, so actually engaging with our life. So we were hearing before that people are smoking because they're bored and unhappy and lonely. So people who engage with their lives and do things and things that they enjoy and find challenging generally are much happier in the long run. Relationships are really important. We're a social species. We like to have relationships. We don't survive very well. If you want to punish a person, you put them in solitary confinement because it works. It's really effective in terms of making them feel bad. So we're big on relationships. If you have one person that you would feel comfortable calling in the middle of the night when you had a problem, right, if you can identify that one person, you will be happier throughout your life because you've got one good relationship. You've got one of them, good, okay. Meaning in our life, so we like to have some feeling in our head that we are part of something bigger. And that used to be a religious thing, so you were part of a religion. That's not true for so many people now, but we still like to be part of something, part of a community, part of a group, land care, save the fish, all those sort of things. Being part of something bigger than ourselves is a really positive thing. We're happier if we're doing that. And achievement is the last one, and I think we tend to get a bit too carried away on achievement, and we equate achievement with lots of money. So we think that we're successful when we're earning lots of money and winning that particular race, but achievement can be having a lovely garden or cooking the best apple crumble anybody's ever tasted. So we can achieve little things and they can be really important. So where I marry these up when talking about people, pets and positive psychology is that pets tick all of these boxes. Right, every single one of them. So I just want to talk about that for a minute. Okay, pets make us feel good, right? I go home at night, my dog, cat is glad to see me, that makes me smile. Right? If we give people diaries and we send them home and we ring them up every so often and we ask them what they're doing, turns out that people who own a pet are happier, they're laughing more often than people who don't own a pet. Right? So pets make us laugh. They do really stupid things. You know, they roll upside down on beanbags or on the car. They make us play that we don't do anymore. We throw sticks for them. All those really positive things. They make us feel happier. And I think that's true of pets. Right? The second thing is engagement. So engagement is about doing things. And if you have dogs particularly, but also cats and also rabbits and also goldfish, they engage us, they take our attention and we pay attention and do things to them. And that sort of attention makes us happier, makes us feel better. So if you put goldfish in the dentist's office, people are happier about going to the dentist. Really simple little things like that, they have a profound influence on us. They make us feel better, they make us do things in our life. If you own a dog, you get up in the morning and take it for a walk. And in doing that, you meet people, you're taking a more active role in your life. That's really important. Relationship is the third one. And of course, pets are all about relationship. If we ask people who is the closest person in your life, it's often the dog or the cat, more so than spouse. Right? So a lot of people rate their pet higher than their spouse in terms of their relationship value. Right? Kids also, if we ask kids to draw their family, draw a circle, put yourself in the middle, draw your family members, the pet is often closer to the kid than any family member. Right? And we know that one positive relationship can be profoundly important if you're suffering from domestic violence, if you've got an addiction, if there's anything wrong with your life, one relationship can do it. There's no rule that says that relationship has to be with another human. It can be a pet, and it can be a small pet, not any animal will do. Meaning is also really important. Pets give us a reason to nurture something. They give us something to nurture, something to love, something to look after. That's a really important thing for a lot of people. In our ageing community, it used to be that the grandparents looked after the grandchildren, and looking after the grandchildren was their meaning in life. Right? So contributing to the community, they can't do that anymore. We don't have those structures. We don't have so many kids anymore. More people in Australia have pets than have kids. Right? So having a reason to get up in the morning, there's lots of depressed people in Australia who got out of bed this morning because they needed to feed the dog or the cat. Right? That gives us a meaning to do things, and that's really important health-wise. And achievement is also really important. So again, people feel an inordinate amount of pleasure and satisfaction by walking down the street with a well-behaved dog. Right? It makes us feel better about ourselves if our dog is friendly and happy, and if we can teach it tricks. So we've done a program where we took dogs into schools with children that have conduct disorder, and the children trained the dogs, and in doing that they had some mastery over their life. They felt like they were achieving something, and it had really positive effects for those kids, whereas relating to humans didn't do that. So we can get achievement out of looking after our animals, out of cleaning the goldfish tank, or looking after our pet mice and rabbits and all those sort of things, which I think is really important in our community, because in a lot of ways we're so fractured and lack those sort of relationships and those ways of interacting with people. So pets can tick all of those boxes. So my grand plan to save the planet is that we need more pets. Okay, now I know that counters against some of what you've heard before, right? But imagine if everybody who had lots of large families and more kids had one mouse instead. The carbon footprint would be hugely reduced, right? Yeah? Right? We would need a whole lot less fish to eat. We would feel better about our lives, and if we feel better about our lives, we're more motivated to try and fix other things. So we're more community minded. If you live in a community where pets walk around, you feel like you're part of the community better. People say that they feel safer and happier just because a dog walks past with its owner every couple of days. So I think we need more pets. Okay? Now the qualifier on that is that we've got to get the right pets. We don't want pets that bite people. We don't want cats that spray all over the furniture. We don't want animals that spread disease because we don't know how to control them. We need to be really careful about getting the right pets in the right place. So for example, our cities are not very well designed for lots of different animals. I was in America a little while ago, and there was this huge court case between a lady who wanted to keep a pony in her apartment, right? And it was a service pony, so she was using it as a guide animal, and she was arguing she should be able to keep her pony in her apartment. And why not, I say, okay, if she can fulfill that. So we need to redesign our cities to fit more animals in. We need animals in our cities, we need them in our schools, we need them in our workplaces, we need them just in the community in general. We feel better when there are comfortable, happy animals around. They need to be the right animals. That's important. And also, we need animals that we can look after. So animal welfare is my other hat. I will do a lot of work in animal welfare. How do we look after the animals we've got in our community? How do we make sure that we've got animals we can protect and live comfortably with? And the last thing is, we need to make it easier for people to own pets. So I said before that 54% of people who don't own a pet wish that they did. Right? Why don't they? Because it's too difficult. So we need to find ways of supporting people who want to own pets, particularly when they're the aged, particularly when they're the socially disadvantaged, particularly when they're the lonely. Right? We need to find ways as a community to help them. And there are lots of organisations out there that do that, that will go to an elderly lady's house and groom her dog once a week, or take it walking, or help her buy the food that she needs for her cat or her rabbit. So we need those sort of services. We need retirement villages that are pet friendly. Right? Provided we've got the right pets, we need to accommodate them within that environment. So we need more animals, we need the right animals, and we need to fit them in, and we need to provide services. And of course the good news on that is that volunteers will provide a lot of those services, and those volunteers get all of those positive psychology benefits out of doing that, as well as the people that are helping. So it's a win-win situation all around, provided we do it well. Okay, thank you from me and some of my pets.